dulce el fin de semana. Yo soy anfitrión Paul Lane. Hoy tenemos un invitado muy especial, Dr. Manuel Almendares, con su maravilloso libro, Mi Sangre. Whew. Guys, I gotta tell you, man, I'm so excited to have this gentleman here and so honored after having read this book. And I think that by the end of this show, you're gonna have to have one of these in your hands. But I just did that out of respect for all of my Spanish speakers. I thank you all for joining us, for following the show. This is the Rio. This is the Rio del Mundo. And the information and the music and the content that you're going to hear on this station is going to be life-changing. It's going to be good for you, good for your spirit, good for your knowledge about community and self. And so always listen to KUHS, The Stream in Denver, Colorado. I am Paul Lane, the author of The Caregiver's Handbook, a self-help love story. I talk about this book a little bit each week. Today I'm not going to really talk about it, but this is a book that you really need to have if you have a loved one who has cancer or is ill, and especially if you're the caregiver or the supporter of a caregiver. Also, you know, guys, that I am a big supporter of CALMA, the Colorado Alliance for Latino Mentors and Authors. And the Ramas Raíces, the Best of Calma anthology, is available. It's $20, guys. I'm telling you, help raise money for the community, the Latino community. Put your money where your mouth is, guys. Order a book today. Reach out to me at the station or at Laneman, LANEMAN09 at Comcast.net. Guys, you know, I've talked to you about the spray that you always see me use, and I'm such a believer in this stuff. I told you a few shows back that I was going to bring you some details about my physical, and so I'm just going to read these to you. Cholesterol 157, reference 149 to 199. HDL 48, 38 to 8, 35 to 80. I'm reading the normals after that. LDL 89, 0 out of 129. Cholesterol HDL 3.3. 4.99 was the high. LDL 1.85, 0.9 to 5.3. So I'm right in the money there. Triglycerides 100, range 100 to 150. NT-pro NBP 36, greater than 36. 0 to 124 is what's the average. Diuretic screen negative. Beta screen negative. BUN, my result 18, reference 19 to 27. Creatine 1.4, 0.7 to 1.5 is high. Urine screen 6.2, 5 to 8 is high as the average. Protein 10, 0 to 30 is the average. Leukocyte screen negative. Hemoglobin screen negative. Urine creatine, protein creatine, everything. Cysteine, alkaline prostate, protein, albumin, globulin, hepatitis C negative. Every single one of these was on the money. I'm 65 years old, man. I've been battling high blood pressure. I've been on medication, and you know something? I'm doing so much better now in every sense of the word. So guys, again, if you're ever interested in getting some of this product, you need to have it in your hands, and you need to use it, especially if you are sick. And so, you know, I just, you know, wanted to show, you know, talk about that. A couple of other things. If you follow me on TikTok, I am milehighman_. You will see that I am a content creator, but I'm not just a content creator, I'm an activist. I want to educate my Latino friends and family about the realities that are facing us as a community, and I am the voice that an opportunity Henry gives me by being on this station to give you this information. Last week or a couple of weeks ago, I decided that, you know what, we should start a movement, and I'm going to call it the Latino Freeze Movement. So I did a video, and I put it on TikTok, and I had over 127,000 views on this video. What does this video say? It says that I have indigenous brothers and sisters that are being deported and called criminals by a criminal. I have deported brothers and sisters, and some of them are going to be sent to a concentration camp in the United States of America. This is unacceptable. I can't stand for this. I can't stand back and watch this. I have a man who calls himself the president who is now going to have the authority to try to buy a country that is already being genocided in Palestine. I cannot stand for this. Those indigenous brothers and sisters of mine, though we may not speak the same language, we may not have the same religion, we may not have nothing like our lifestyles, but the fact of the matter is they're my brothers and your sisters. That's all there is to that. So what can we do? The Latino freeze is, I call it, let's eat the oligarchs one at a time. Let's eat oligarchs. How can we eat the oligarchs, guys? Here's a couple of ideas. I want you to write these down. First thing I want you to do is I want you to go on Google Maps. I want you to go to reviews. And as soon as you find reviews, I want you to give it a 2-star, not a 1, but a 2-star review, because they'll block you if it's a 1. Do a 2-star review, and then in comments, I want you to write, they misspelled the Gulf of Mexico. Secondly, I might get in trouble for this, but if there's an ICE hotline, I want you to call them and report an African in the White House that is an illegal immigrant and needs to be deported. Did you hear that the president took away the diabetes cap? We can't accept this, man. We can't accept this. CDC is being eliminated. What happens if you eliminate the CDC? Then we're not going to know how many people get killed when the next pandemic comes. We know that 1 million Americans have died since the last one. Cancer research is going away. This man is taking your cancer research. Oh my gosh. Ethnic cleansing is taking place, and this man is threatening, and he wants nothing more than to go by that and displace these people. Not happening, Donnie. It's not happening. America, here's what we're going to do. On February 17th, Monday, I'll be there at the Capitol. I was there last week, and I was there the week before, and I was standing there proud, and I was shouting my lungs out. I had a mask on because I was sick of them dogs, but you know what? I was there. And I want you to be there tomorrow. I want you to be there Monday, the 17th at noon at the state capitol. If we don't start shutting this down, you're going to be shut down, and I mean shut down permanently, pal. Your Social Security is getting taken away. My veteran benefits are taken away. They want to take every single thing and give it to themselves. We got to say enough is enough. I saw a TikTok video in France this morning, and she says, you better wake up, America, because they're going to shit all over you and leave you in the gutter. On February 28th is the day of national protest. Don't buy anything. Don't go to work. Don't participate in this society. You know what? Better than that, start with me. I canceled Netflix. I canceled Amazon Prime. I canceled all of my Facebook apps. I canceled Messenger, Instagram, Facebook, all of it. Delete it all. I dare you, man. Walk the walk. Stand up. Don't go to any chain restaurants. Don't go to fast food restaurants. Put your money in Latino, Black, and woman-owned businesses. That's what you can do. We need to attack each of these billionaires one at a time. Don't buy gas on Friday. Don't buy gas on Friday. All right, I'm done with my rant. Dr. Almendarez. Almendarez. I'm so sorry. You are gifted. I mean, I have spent a great deal of time sitting down, and I was telling you earlier that I read all of my guest books. I read them out loud to my wife, and she gives her high compliments. He's written his book in Spanish and in English. Doctor, I'm honored to have you on the show.
Thank you, Paul.
As you go through this book, you're going to see that there's content that is very fascinating. History. It's historical fiction, yet it's all taken from factual events.
That's correct.
This book is about your sangre, your blood, your familia, your history.
Yes.
And you've listed details about your family that are just so fascinating and just so eye-opening. You know, I have a lot of guests who had written books about Texas and Mexico and what went on the Revolutionary War, but this perspective is so unique in that it was of one family.
Right.
Tell me about how did you come about to write this book?
Well, I come from a big family, Paul. I grew up with 14 siblings, 13 siblings. I'm my brother was the 14th. I'm number 12 out of 14 in the family. 7 brothers and 7 sisters.
Wow.
Yeah, and we grew up as migrant farm workers. We traveled up north. We came up to Colorado, went up to Ohio and Michigan, all these states, to harvest crops, and that's how we spent our summers. We went to school, went back over there to the valley, to the Rio Grande Valley where we're from, and we'd go back to school, and then the next summer we'd go back out, and I mean we were thrilled by it. We didn't.
It wasn't work. It wasn't like.
It wasn't work for us. I mean, we were looking forward to the next place we were going to see, the new place we were going to see.
Wow.
We even got to go up to Yellowstone National Park when I was 13. So it was exciting for us growing up like that. But people see it more of a you're a farm worker, you're poor, you're doing this, you're doing that. But you know what? As kids, we didn't know any better. We loved it.
Yeah.
We loved our trips, But I grew up, and then the stories that my grandmother used to tell us about my grandfather, Benjamin, which this book is about, were very interesting because one of the things that she would tell us was that he was bilingual back in 1915.
Yeah.
He ran away from home when he was 12 and wound up in Houston, I believe.
Working for the Brown family.
Yes, and I think that he learned about the produce business because in those years the produce business was very big in Houston because of that's where all the fruit was coming in from Mexico into Houston. So he learned the business there and grew up there, and the family that took him in taught him English. So when he got back in 1915, and when he met my grandmother, he was already bilingual. Very a rarity back then. But there was some violence that occurred during that time, 1915, after he got married, and they had to escape down to Mexico. And the book talks about that, about what violence was going on there. And I'll let the book talk for itself.
Yes.
But
yes.
I started this book from way back 300 AD because I wanted people to understand that our sangre, our blood, is connected.
Yes.
We are Native American blood, south of the border, north of the border. It doesn't matter. Those borders are just imaginary to us.
That's an imaginary line.
Yes, we are blood all the way across every border. Native, right? Indios.
Yes.
So that's what I wanted to do. So I started the story back with the Anasazi up here, and their escape down south into Mexico. Smithsonian has an idea as to what happened, when they migrated south. My idea was that they became the Mexica.
And there's a lot of people that agree with that.
Yeah, a lot of people agree with that. And so I took that book through the whole history of Mexico, so that people could understand it in a nutshell, what was going on. And it was always a country in turmoil, always in turmoil. And when my grandfather moved back down there, it was around the time of the Mexican Revolution. Escaping from the violence in Texas straight into the Mexican Revolution. Can you imagine the violence that was going on
Texas.
In South Texas at the time?
Yeah, and they were right on the border.
That right.
And so the skirmishes were going back and forth.
Yes.
I was so, and I've heard the stories of the Texas Rangers.
Yes.
But I mean, the things that the book explains and describes about the Texas Rangers is beyond disturbing to me.
Yeah, it was something that, it's still something that happens today,
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
But it was something that, something that I took directly from history, from what really happened in South Texas with the Texas Rangers, and what stirred it up and what started it. And thousands of Mexicans were murdered down there, and there's a historical marker down there called La Matanza, where in South Texas, the Texas Rangers were down there, and they just got carried away and started lynching people. My grandfather, and I wrote that my grandfather witnessed one, but it was my imagination that took me there.
Oh man, you did a good job.
It was my imagination that took me there.
Yeah, and he was just leading his horse, and he hears a woman scream, and he goes over there, and he's right in the middle of this, and it's inevitable. That's exactly what happened.
What was happening?
And so, I mean, it doesn't take a great imagination to think, the things that they would come and see, and people hung on fences and
Right.
and literally dismembered. I heard stories of people who were skinned, and they
Oh, yeah.
found them skinned there, and so we have much in common with our black brothers and sisters who have been oppressed like that. Although it wasn't as publicized.
Right.
And it was really a land grab. It was truly ethnic cleansing. As you wrote in one part of the book, he was witnessing ethnic cleansing. And I think when I hear about all that stuff, and I learn about, bury my heart at Wounded Knee, and I hear about my historical information, it's like anyone who has come from a genocided culture cannot stand for genocided cultures.
Of course not.
We cannot stand for a leadership or any kind of government that would ascribe to this, not even our own.
No. No.
And so I have to speak out.
Of course.
And this book speaks out. I think that as you read this book, you're going to see that Benjamin was, man, this guy's a brilliant young man. I mean, he ran away from home when he was 12 years old, and he went and just, by chance found an old man. I don't know if that was real too, but found an old man in the train station, and he said, here's a piece of paper, find this guy.
Well, it's just that the reason I connected an idea like that is just that my father went through something similar.
Mm-hmm.
He had lead poisoning at one time. My father, when he was like 17, and my mother couldn't find a way to heal him. They took him down into the valley, and they came up to this old man. This old man just appeared out of nowhere, just walking down the street.
Mm-hmm.
And he looked at my grandmother and says,
Yes, ma'am, you can. 1 second.
Heard my father coughing. And he says, "Traes alguien enfermo?" And she said, "Yes, my son is sick." And so immediately out of his pocket he took out a number out of nowhere. It says, "Go see this doctor.
Wow.
He will go take care of him." And that's why I connected something like
Very
that.
magical, like an angel.
Yes. Like
Yeah,
an
yeah.
angel.
Now, as I read the story, I could only imagine that he's standing there looking for this man who gave him this number just out of nowhere. And so, very, very nice. I love that. It fit right into the story. There was a young woman, and I'm going to bounce around, so don't mind me. That's why I interview. There was a young woman who was. She was born, and her mother died in childbirth, and her name was Panchita.
Yes.
And she had a very, very difficult life until she met this young man, Benjamin. And it didn't really go into depth about her as an individual, but she was really instrumental in the story because this young man wanted a good woman, a good wife, that it was a partner that was his corazón.
Right.
And he knew right away when he saw this young woman that she was the one. I like that my wife said, yeah, tell him I like the love story part. So Panchita, at the end of the story, Panchita has to move on, in spite of her circumstances.
Right.
And there's a part 2 that's coming out that I very much look forward to. Absolutely look forward to.
Well, what happened was that my grandfather, of course, what you read, that he was executed in front of a firing squad.
Mm-hmm.
And because he got caught up, during that time, during the Mexican Revolution time, there was always factions coming up, going against the government. And this time, it was the governor of Tamaulipas who had lost the election.
Yes. And contested it and said it was rigged.
Right. So he went up against the government, And so, because my grandfather was a police officer as a translator.
It was by chance that he ended in this position.
Yes.
Because he was an exporter, and he ended up, because he was bilingual, I'm going to just run this by you guys. It's so good. So the police commissioner of that town saw him and saw that he spoke Spanish, and he told him, come and work for me as a translator.
English, yeah.
At first, and all he was doing was translating, and he gave him extra money, but he still had his business. And then he came to him, and he brought who came, the governor? I mean the man who was running for office.
Yeah, governor, Caballero.
Caballero, and he said something, and the guy said, I want him to be work for the police. And so they called him in and offered him a full-time job, and he said, you got to give up your business. And I mean, I can't imagine thinking of what a bright future this kid had, because he was only 25 years old.
Yeah.
He had such a great future in the exporting business, but he offered to serve his country. And I think that's one of the common things in Latinos. When you go in history and you look at who has the most bronze stars, who has the most gold stars, who has the most medals of honor, it's the brown people. It's the Chicanos, the Latinos. That's who has the most honor, the most dedication, the most fearlessness. Sorry, I had to throw that out there.
I have an uncle that was sergeant major in the Marines here in the United States.
Wow.
Israel Almendares, and very proud of him. He passed away a few years ago. But yeah, our family's been,
very honorably served.
Yes.
In every battle we've been there.
Well, the battle that we fought was rights of the farm workers down in South Texas. Later on in the years when we were became migrants, we had the onion strike, and I'll be writing about that in my third book.
Oh, very cool.
It's about the migrant years of our family, and I'm writing chapters in it right now, but that'll be later on published. Part 2 will probably be another year before it comes out. Mi Sangre Part 2.
Oh man, keep on writing. I
Yeah.
think, definitely worth the read, you guys. Worth the read. Geez, man, as you're talking, so many things are going through my mind. The father of Benjamin was Teodoso, and Teodoso was pretty enterprising himself, and he was very, very hardworking, and so he was entrusted with a lot of responsibility, and he had always taught his son to, because they were pretty, I don't want to say aristocracy, but they were not in the poor peasant class. But he would always, his dad, Teodoso, would always dress as a peasant wherever he went, so that they wouldn't come and try to take his money. And he had a little hiding place in his wagon that, oh my God, I'm going to give the whole book away. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's, well, when I was writing the stories and I involved the characters, I tried to touch on their emotions.
Yes.
The emotions that they were going through as they were, experiencing life.
Yes.
And many times when I was writing it, I was in tears because I felt it. I felt the emotions.
Yeah, it's almost like you put yourself there, you
Yes,
lived it.
I
And
lived
as you
it.
read that, you get that same, you get that heartfelt.
Yes.
There was times when he had to make decisions, and when he had to go leave his house and move to Texas, and he saw some peasants walking on the side of the road, and he felt compassion for them, and he stayed and had dinner with them. And
Oh yeah.
I just felt like there was so much emotion that was involved in this book, and there was so much that I could put myself in the shoes of the characters as I was reading. So I look for that, and I really like that in the book.
Yeah, there was especially one of the things that I kind of borrowed from history. There was this journalist that was in Mexico around the time of the Mexican Revolution that wrote an article about witnessing a firing squad.
Oh man.
So the journalist was there looking at what was happening and wrote in great detail, including, the smell of the burning clothes, the gurgling sounds of the man that was shot, how the person was falling back slowly, the look on the shooters' faces, and all these things inspired me to put my grandfather's
Experience.
execution with that kind of detail. And
Man, oh man. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and it was hard to do.
Yeah, I love a story that has a surprise ending. And this book has a surprise ending. And you talked about it, but just the detail and how it happened, and how his friend Antonio went back to Pachita to tell her that well, where's your husband? He's not here. And
he was looking for him.
And he had actually witnessed the firing squad of his dear friend.
Yes.
I mean, he was the compadre of Teodoso, the baby.
Right.
So this was just freaking heartbreaking. It was just devastating.
Yeah, and it's based on true stories. Very true. I mean, every word of it is based on true history. You know, it took me about 6 years of research, and history books don't contain the stories that I was looking for. So a lot of the stories that I found were in journals, personal journals of people who were there, witnessing what was happening.
Wow.
The battles of the caballeristas.
Yes.
All that about the areas that they fought in.
By the Rio, where they would be.
I researched the map area, the topography of the land to
you really
understand
visualize
where they
exactly.
were going and what they were seeing, so that I could describe
Wow.
it in detail. You know, the buildings full of holes from the newly.
La Policia
You know, during the time of the Mexican Revolution, a lot of the
Yeah.
buildings were full of holes.
Yes, I
Like
can imagine.
people were poor and barely making it, and you know, just everywhere. You know, it was a tough time for the people of Mexico and my people, because my father, my grandfather, they all went through that. You know, my mother used to tell us when I was growing up, because ustedes están en la gloria. You guys are living in heaven compared to where we were.
Wow.
So I'm going to be writing their story.
See, that's what we need to see. That's the history that's being lost and being forgotten.
That's right.
And you know, it's exactly why we cannot let history be taken out of our schools. We cannot let history be removed.
That's right.
I mean, you know, this new head of the Department of Defense is trying to change Army posts to the name of the Southern Confederate generals who ran them. I'm telling you, man, they've got a DUI running for the DEI. It ain't happening. By the way, I don't say DEI anymore. It's diversity, equity, and inclusion. Why? Because what's the opposite of diversity? Whites only. What's the opposite of equity? Inequality.
Yeah.
What's the opposite of inclusion? Exclusion. I'm sorry, but the diversity of this country ain't ever going away, folks.
And I believe so much in that I'm involved with a business in Englewood, Brewability. Brewability is involved with hiring you know, people that can't get hired anywhere else. I mean, because of their disability, you know. And so she opened this after being a special ed teacher, understanding what was happening to her students when they were coming out of school. They didn't have a chance to live a normal life, and she's making it possible at Brewability.
Man, and that place is packed. It's busy.
Brewability is just my second home.
Yeah, I see why, man. I mean, they have open mic night. They have, you know, entertainers that come and sing, and there's a real community feeling that I felt when I went in there.
I want to invite everybody out there. It's awesome.
Yeah. Where's it located?
At 3445 Broadway in Englewood.
South Broadway.
Yeah, South Broadway in Englewood. So
Yes.
come on and see us.
Hey guys, if you're just joining us, you are watching KUHS The Stream on Melody Drive. KUHS Denver, El Río de Información, El Río de Música, El Río de Comunidad, El Río de Mundo. I'm practicing my Spanish, and I'm going to make an effort to do something in Spanish every week, guys, because it's important that we do understand and learn Spanish. And it, again, is to support all of our indigenous brothers and sisters wherever they may be. Guys, I'm so honored to have you guys. We have been talking to Manuel Almendares, Dr. Manuel Almendares, and he's the author of Mi Sangre. And those of you who know me and have known me from school, if you're watching, doesn't he look like Robert Gonzalez? I saw him the first time. I thought he was. You got a twin out there, brother. So the Weekend Boost is a program that we always try to feature authors. We try to feature community leaders, people of note. You know, I'm very metaphysical, so I bring a lot of magic people on, and that's one of the things that I love. You know, I've hosted 4 shamans on my show, all women, and so you know, having guests that write books that are impactful, books that are informative, books that really help you to understand history in a way that you might not have otherwise seen from the perspective of one family. And so as you get into this book, you'll see that the translations, again, are not there. I'm telling you, don't let that hold you back. First I told him at the beginning of the show, I was pretty frustrated with that. But then I said, you know what? I want to know what they're saying. And so I got out my translator tool, and you can download these. They're very easy. You can buy them on TikTok. I mean, there's all different ways. But I did it, and it would write out everything, and it would say the words in Spanish. And if I said the word wrong, I'd have to do it again. And so by the time I was done with that, I already did a TikTok and video in Spanish. And it's already had almost 8,000 views. Not the views, it's the message. Don't buy anything. You know?
What Paul is talking about in the book is that the dialogue, I didn't translate the dialogue. The dialogue stays Spanish so that the novel continued to have that flow, and also to challenge everyone to learn that Spanish, you know.
I was so pleased. By the time I was halfway through, I said, I see why he did that now. I understand. Because not only is this book going to give you the perspective of this person, but it's going to give you their perspective in their own words, in their own language. And when you start using these words and pronouncing these words and saying, oh, I mispronounced that, say it and practice it. You know, when I did this introduction, I was so proud of myself. I called both of my daughters. I called, Carmen Baca, who's going to be my next guest. I had to share this with everyone because I'm proud of that, you know. And my mom, when I walked out to get my paperwork this morning, I walked out the door and there was a penny face down, and I said, Mom, thank you. Yes, gracias a mi mamá, Benita Sanchez.
Oh, my mom was Benita too.
Oh, cool, huh?
Benita Salinas Almendares.
My mom was Trujillo. A lot of people ask me, how's your name Lane? Because my dad was Mal Duran and my mom was Benita Trujillo.
Oh, okay.
But I never knew Lane. He was gone before I even turned 3. So I was raised by Benita, who was Benita Trujillo. Then in the end, she got married and changed her name to Sanchez. But mi sangre is exactly what I believe my life is about. Mi sangre. You are mi sangre. I don't care if you're Latino or not. I don't care if you're an ally, if you're a person who cares and has compassion for other people. You are mi sangre.
That's right.
Being able to take this time travel experience, really, it's heartwarming. I mean, it's heartwarming. It was like, man, it was another page turner. You know, it was a book that you can't wait to pick up.
I remember seeing that picture on my on the wall when I was growing up.
Uh-huh.
And when I would always be amazed that, hey, my grandfather had a gun, and I was like, and he looked like, he had bullets on his, and it was like really exciting to me, and I wanted to know more, and I would ask my grandmother, and she would be happy to tell us about him, about how he was bilingual, and he told my father a lot of stories about him, a lot more than she ever told me. So a lot of the stuff that I learned about my grandfather, I learned from my father, who had learned it from his mother, Panchita. Who I wrote about.
Yes.
Who grew up. Yeah.
She was one of the main characters.
She was one of the. She was Benjamin's wife.
Is this Benjamin here?
That's Benjamin.
Oh,
that's
very
my
cool.
grandfather. And I grew up looking at that picture and just in awe,
Mm-hmm.
And so. And when I got older, I don't know, I just felt I needed to know more. I needed to know more, and so I invested that time to find out what really happened, because there was so little known about it,
Yeah.
And even the Caballerista rebellion was something that's not even in the history books in Mexico. They just wanted to wipe it out.
Wow.
So I found it in a journal,
Wow.
And it's known by people in the region, Santander, down in where my grandfather was killed, which is Soto La Marina, down in Tamaulipas, in that area. And I even, did a kind of a map research of what Soto La Marina looked like back in the 1900s, so that I could find out where he would have been.
Where he would have met, where they would have gathered and have their plan
right
to get together. You know what? I got to tell you, the one thing that really stuck with me. I mean, there were many things, but one thing that stuck with me as I was reading the book was, he must have had a wonderful relationship with his grandparents. To be able to communicate and to get so much detail and information. I mean, my grandfather was very old. He was much older than me, and so we didn't have a relationship. And you know, as now as having grandkids, man, I know my grandkids. I know how they're doing in school. I know, you know, how they're feeling about life. I talk to my grandkids on a regular basis, and it makes me feel very honored to have that opportunity. And so that was a very, very, I could so relate to and appreciate that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I had access to both my grandmothers, but both my grandfathers I never ever met. But it's just that we're such a big family that we were just allowed to be free thinkers as kids. You know, we run around free. You know, so we had a chance to judge for ourselves. You know, because of course my mom and dad couldn't, you know, put that kind of attention on for, you know, that many kids.
Oh, sure, that's a big family.
It's a big family, but I appreciate that because how I think now is how I actually decided to think as I was growing up.
Through the experiences
Through
of
the
your
experiences
lifetime,
of my lifetime, instead of being directed by my mother and father. You see? So there was a lot of freedom there. Yeah, there was some rules that I had to follow. Go work in the fields, you know, and I learned a lot about working from my father. And today, that same work ethic stays with me in anything I do.
And you went on and became a PhD. Tell me about that. How did you know, did you decide, did you get a scholarship? How did this happen, man?
Well, I started, I actually did some time in prison for possession of marijuana down in Texas.
Wow.
So when I got out, I was, well, when I was sentenced, I was given a pre-sentencing investigation. And the first sentence I read was, Manuel Almendares has led an unremarkable life. Was the first sentence. I didn't read any more. That's all I needed to read. And I thought, that's true. I haven't done.
You objectively heard that.
Yeah, I am. I haven't done a damn thing. You know?
How old were you?
I was. It was in. I was what, 32.
Wow, man.
And I was. Well, you know, it was. I'd already been married like several years, 5 years, 6 years. Well, actually, longer. I was married in 1978. But in '98, I got arrested, and when I read that, I made a decision at that point that nobody could ever say that about me again. From then on, I was going to lead a remarkable life.
Wow, man, I'm getting chills.
And when I went into prison, I had a different attitude than most prisoners did, and they couldn't understand it because
you had your resolve already.
I had already resolved to change. I had already resolved to be remarkable, and I'm not done yet.
And so you just saw this as this is just a short step.
PhD is just it wasn't for anything to be called a doctor or anything like that. It was for credibility. It's so that because society sees this you know, this piece of paper as important.
Yep.
You know, and so I used it as credibility because I knew I was going to write. I was going to write not just about my family. I was going to write a lot more, and I'm still writing. I just published another book on trade shows, and that just came out. But I'm going to continue publishing. But we all want to change the world, especially now. And the way to change the world is not by doing. It's by being.
It's by being.
It's by being.
And the motto of my show.
Yes, you emanate love to everyone, so that love can be emanated everywhere else. And that's what I believe. That's how we change the world.
Yeah, that's very true. I always say love and gratitude are the secret to joy and happiness.
Absolutely.
You know, my slogan on my show is everybody's looking for a hero. And if you can't find one, be one.
Be one.
Look, man, that's why I make TikTok videos. That's why I come on this show, because I need to find a hero, and I can't find one. And you know what? I used to go into Denver public schools and do motivational speaking way back in the 90s. And I've mentored over 6,000 kids over the years, man. Because I can't find a hero, I better be one, because I'm not going to sit back and wait for someone else. And that's exactly what you're doing, man.
And I tell everyone, I said, I'll tell them, look, we're all one. And we're all capable. We're all capable of love.
Yes, we are.
And we're all deserving of it. You know, and everyone is deserving of it.
Absolutely.
And so, our job is to emanate it freely, without expecting anything in return.
Yes. Altruistic love.
Yes.
That's, I love it. I think it's very important, very powerful, and I think it's relevant.
Well, this was an act of love, of love from, because I had my father living with me when I was writing this book. He was 101 years old.
And your father's Teodoso.
Teodoso. He's the baby in the story. And I got to interview him that one year that he lived with me.
Wow.
The last year that he lived with me. And I was so blessed by it. Because he was so sharp, he was still, very, very aware of everything. And
Clear-minded.
Very clear-minded. And so I was able to interview him about, stories about his past so that I could
oh man,
learn.
what a treasure.
And I recorded it on video. I have audio tracks of it. I even shared it on YouTube. Where he's talking and telling the stories, and I actually put closed caption on there in English so that people could understand what he was saying.
Oh man.
But those stories are going to appear in part 2.
That's exciting because Teodoso was a 2-month-old baby when we leave this story.
Yes.
So, definitely I want to keep you hanging on this. You need to get this book. Where can they get your book?
You can go on Amazon. You can get it in English or in Spanish, either in paperback, hardback, or Kindle. And you can also get it on audio. It's an audio book. I actually went into my recording studio and recorded it as an audio book on Audible. So you can find it on Audible as well.
So very good. Guys, really, you need to get this book in your hands. And not just on your bookshelf, get it in your hands. It's a great read. I'll tell you what, one of the things we like to do is before we go to bed, I love to read out loud. I think it's very good for you. I'm just going to throw this out there too. You guys know that I like to ramble on the show, so here's a challenge for you. You want to improve your vocabulary, your pronunciation, your speech, your reading ability. Read 10 minutes out loud every day and 20 minutes to yourself. Try doing that. You will not believe what an impact you'll make. If you read one book a year, you read probably more than 90% of the entire American population.
Wow.
I got a 12-year-old granddaughter who's reading at an 11th grade level. And literacy is so critical, I mean, it's so important. And the only way that someone's going to lead is if it's you. The only way that someone's going to make a change is if it's you. If you are considering writing a book, when does it start? With page 1. If anybody, by the way, if anybody knows any word programs that are not Microsoft, I'm protesting Microsoft too, man. Bill Gates don't need my money. So if you have any ideas of any free word processing programs, reach out to me at the station. Reach out to me at laneman09@comcast.net. Let me know, man. The more books you read, the more of a grasp on reality you have. The more love that you can share. I mean, when you talk about love as a part of your being and what you stand for and what you believe, I see that. I believe that, and I feel, reading your words, there, even in this turmoil that was happening and all the cruelty, there was still kindness that I could see in the life of Benjamin. His love for his son was just very admirable, and he wanted to nothing more than to see his son and his wife once more. Unfortunately, he was betrayed, and so this book is it includes all kinds of activity, love, it includes father-son relationships, it includes betrayal, it includes war, it includes a firing squad. I mean, it's like, man, you can almost smell the gunpowder as you hear the sound of the guns going off as you read this book. I'm not exaggerating. As what other books do you see yourself reading again besides what you talked about? Do you see yourself doing like articles? Do you see yourself, I think you're a guy that needs to be promoted. You need to promote yourself.
Well, I do a lot of poetry.
Oh, yes.
I write a lot of poetry, and the poetry is more, it's more spiritual. It delivers, each one delivers a message. And they're just inspired. I just start writing, and like Paul says, you start on page 1, but you start now.
It's when you start now.
You start now.
That's right.
Because we're always in right now.
Exactly.
You
When's
know?
the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago. Or right now.
Right now. Right. So that was my philosophy as far as getting things done.
Yes.
You do it right now.
Do it now. Don't procrastinate.
No, don't
Yeah.
procrastinate.
I learned an affirmation when I was a young man, and I'd always end it with, "I will do it now."
Yeah.
I will do it now.
And you were talking about literacy. One important thing I learned about South Texas in 1918, the literacy in South Texas, the children in South Texas in 1905 to 1918 was 80%,
Wow.
while the rest of Texas was 10%.
You're kidding me.
They
That's-
read Spanish, but they were literate.
Wow.
80% of the population in South Texas.
And see, we're seeing that even to this day.
Yes.
Claudia Scheinbaum, she is a change agent. I'm telling you. And by the way, you guys know that I'm big on the divine feminine, and the matriarchy is coming in, folks. Get ready. We're in a short, dark time right now. It's going to end real soon.
Oh yeah, I believe that.
The feminine, divine feminine is upon us. It is within us. It is around us, and we need to embrace, celebrate, and move it forward, man. I'm telling.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah, man. That's my feeling. I love it, man. I think men have done enough damage to the world.
I know I have.
And I'm not saying all, I mean, you all know I have a chapter in my book. It's called "I've Learned That Most Men Are Asses." And I laugh about it now, but it's a fact. It's a true statement.
Yeah, you know.
You know, I mean,
I've been there.
look at Super Bowl Sunday, which I did not watch. Oh, you know what? You got a minute? Let's talk about Super Bowl Sunday. Did
I
you?
didn't even watch it.
I did not watch the game.
I didn't watch it.
Didn't watch the game.
No.
I had my prima call me up and say, "Hey, halftime's coming on," because I wanted to see Kendrick Lamar,
Yeah.
because I know that he's come out and spoken his mind against the way things are.
Right.
And so I watched that show, and for the next week, I have been listening to so many psychological breakdowns, educational background breakdowns. This is a man who got a Pulitzer Prize.
Hell yeah.
I mean, he ain't just some rapper. This is a man, and I don't mean just some rapper. I don't mean to diminish that in any way. This is a man who is.
He's
The
literate.
revolution will be televised.
Yeah.
I followed Gil Scott-Heron since I was 17 years old.
Wow.
So, that song was very, very familiar to me when it started coming on the TikTok scene. But Kendrick Lamar made a message very clear that we've been kept in line. We've been kept quiet. We've been kept subdued. We've kept in line. We've been divided. We've been separated. We've been made to hate each other. We've been convinced that the black and white are bad against each other, that there's something about good and bad. We've been convinced that a certain demographic of the United States is an enemy of another, which is not true. It's all a facade. This is not a left versus right. It's an up versus down. Look at who was at the inauguration. All billionaires, man. They were all white and they were all male. Sorry, man. I'm telling the truth like I see it. This is not a side left and right. This is a up and down. We need to start eating billionaires, man. I'm sorry. That's the way it is. That's the only way it is. They have declared war on us. Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, wants to make it a death penalty to be an undocumented immigrant in the United States of America. And meanwhile, they're making a concentration camp that only housed 800 people. Now they're going to put 30,000 in it. How inhumane can America be? Sorry, man. I'm getting started on my Gil Scott-Heron stuff.
It's not new.
And it's not new. Oh man, you guys know there's a book that you gotta read. It's called A People's History of the United States by Howard Zinn. You must have that book. You have to get the book, The New Jim Crow by Michelle Alexander. You gotta have that book in your hands. 1491, I forget the author. You gotta have that book, 1491. You need to understand, read the book on who the Black Panthers were. Did you know that the FBI came and assassinated Black Panther members? Do you know why? Because they were helping American people more than the United States government. Fact. I know that. I know. Someone hold me back, guys. Speak the truth. Walk the walk. Make the change. Do not participate in this society until this society includes everyone. Do not participate in a society that's committing genocide and sending bombs and saying, oh yeah, well, we'll clean up all the bombs we got that didn't even explode. We'll go clean those up, but then we're going to steal the land and displace the people. Not happening, Donnie.
Do business locally.
Do business locally. Mom and pop shops. You will not believe how many wonderful restaurants there are in the Denver metro area. Mom and pop shops, privately owned. Chinese restaurants, Mexican restaurants. There's an African grill on Kipling about Kentucky. Oh my gosh, you want to have some cuisine. Oh, go to the African grill. Korean barbecue. There are so many places that are small, privately owned places. The food trucks that you see in the Denver area, you guys, oh my gosh. There's one place called La Fogata. It's right there at Evans and Wadsworth. Putting a free plug in for them. This place has some freaking delicious burritos, man. I'm telling you, there's so many places. You know what? My wife and I haven't bought new clothes in over 2 years now. We didn't put new phones. I need a new phone, but you know what? I'm not buying one. Because I don't support the Congo genocide. I'll buy a refurbished phone. Don't be a talker, be a walker. Walk the walk, make things happen. Don't participate in making billionaires more. They don't need your money. We did it to Target, we did it to Coca-Cola. Let's do it to Meta, let's do it to Twitter, let's do it to Microsoft and Bill Gates. Let's do it to Jeff Bezos. I can't say what I really want to say because it'll be a bad word. But here's what I think, man. Those people don't give two shits about you.
It's true.
They don't care if you live or die. In fact, they took your cancer research away. And most of all, let's take it away from Elon Musk. Did you know that Musk's Tesla stocks have gone down over 25%? And it ain't even, the worst ain't even happened. He is firing people who were investigating him and calling it saving money. That man can't even pass a freaking background check. And we have a president who can't even sell at a bake sale. We have criminals calling people criminals. We have thieves calling people thieves. We have wasters calling the government wasteful. This is the height of hypocrisy. This is unacceptable. I'm telling you again, be there on Monday the 17th at noon at the state capitol. Be there proud. Have a sign in your hand. 1 billionaire at a time. 1 billionaire at a time. I'm sorry, Dr.
That's okay.
I'm very passionate and emotional about
No, I understand the passion. I grew up in a passionate family. You
Yes.
know, and the fighting for our rights.
Yes.
From
Yes.
the very beginning. My father, whenever we were working out in the fields, and one of the field owners would come out there, and any one of them, if they would ever disrespect us, my father would say, "Okay, let's go." We just walk off.
Wow. Very good.
Walk off, and that's what our father taught us.
Very
You
good.
do not let anyone disrespect you, no matter who they are, no matter how much money they have. They are not better than you.
You know, the mantra my mom always taught me was, you're going to have to work twice as hard to get half the credit.
Yeah, that's right.
And I've learned that she was right.
And that was one of the reasons I got a PhD.
Exactly.
As a Mexican American, an American Mexican.
Yes.
Because that's what I am. I was born here,
Yes.
And I was born. My dad became naturalized back in the 30s. So yeah, but that has nothing to do with it because these borders are just not real to me. The people across the border are my blood.
That's right.
I've got family in Mexico. Thousands of family members in Mexico that I don't
Absolutely.
even know.
Ancestors.
Yes.
You know, our grandfathers know our names. We may not know theirs.
Right. So there's just so many connections between us and those in the south of that imaginary border, because that's all it is.
Hey guys, I asked Henry to queue up a video for me. It's a TikTok video that I did. It's had like 126,000 views. I asked him if we could play this. Are you there, Henry? No, he'll come out. He'll come in.
Okay.
But so it's not the views, it's the message. It's the message that we cannot let ourselves be controlled like this. We cannot go down easy. You know, the book on tyranny, again, I forgot the author, On Tyranny, another must-have book. He says, never go down easy. Never let them take you down. The people all over the world are rooting for us, but they can't stand at the bench for us. They can't stand at the bat for us. We got to stand there ourselves. I'm going to have Henry go ahead and cue up this video, guys. This is the Latino Freeze movement. If you're not Latino, you can still join. Alloy's.
So, have you heard about the Latino Freeze movement? You don't have to be Latino to do it. But if you're Latino or if you're African American or any big purchases, keep your money. You know that we are one of the biggest GDPs in the world, the Latino population, and they're attacking us. And now, if we unite, Latino Freeze, right now, we can make a big impact. They're taking away all the immigrants that do all the hard work. Let's hit them where it hurts. Latino Freeze, Latinos unite. Viva la raza.
This is us at the Capitol a couple of weeks ago, or last week, February 5th. We're not going to lay down. We're not going to let the powers that be the powers that control us. There's going to be more people there this Monday, guys. We shut down the city, not to shut down the city, but to make our voices heard. Guys, walk the walk. Let your voice be heard. Vote with your dollars. Again, please go on Google Maps. Delete them. Google Maps, yeah, get rid of that and put in MapQuest. Put MapQuest in because they still have the Gulf of Mexico. Send a review in to Google Maps and tell them they misspelled the Gulf of Mexico. We can't accept this. We can't accept them taking our $35 insulin cap. I got friends who need insulin. They can't afford $500, $800 a month. We cannot let this happen. This is not a Democrat or Republican thing because you are going to be affected. Whether you voted for whoever it was, this is going to affect you and your family members. They're taking away mental health. Most of all, they have been taking away the bodily autonomy of women in the United States of America. I don't care what side of the aisle you stand on. You cannot stand and let them take this right away from your daughter. This is not a your body, my rights kind of place. We stand up and we protect our women. You as men stand up and protect your women and cook your damn woman a dinner once in a while. And you know, cleaning the house is not just a man's job. Oh, got me off again. Guys, you have been watching the Weekend Boost. And I am your host, Paul Lane. We have been talking to Dr. Manuel Almendares, the author of Mi Sangre, Part 1, a book that, again, you must have in your hand. I guarantee you'll enjoy it. I guarantee you will learn much about yourself and the history of your country. This has been the Weekend Boost. I'm so honored to have you. Apologies for having missed the last two shows. The first one we had that big old snowstorm, and last 2 weeks ago, I was so sick that I couldn't come in here. But Dr. Almendares, you are such a pleasure to know and to meet, and such an honor to read your book.
Well, I'm honored to be here, Paul.
Right
I really
on, man.
am. Thank you.
When you get this other book, you got to get back on this show. You reach out, and we're going to definitely. And I got to talk to you about business cards anyway.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Guys, again, thank you for watching. Stay tuned to KUHS, El Rio del Mundo, because there's all kinds of good stuff for you here, all stuff for you to learn. Enjoy your day.